This goes on. One goes on, one goes off. Those guys are on top of it. They're really good back there. Sorry for the feedback. This one too? All right. All right. All right. We still got a little feedback going on a little bit, right? Echo in or... Thanks a lot, everybody. You got, Taka, you got that? Is it, I'll keep talking until it sounds a little more normal. Just maybe off for those. Thanks. Here we go. Starting to get there. All right. Oh, that's much better. Better, right? I still have a little bit of echo, but that's all right. Yeah, so all of my children, nobody knows how to pronounce their names. My poor daughter, I put a J in the middle of her name, Tanya, and she changed it on her own to I because she got tired of being called Tanja at school, and I think she still uses an I, and the Social Security Administration is like upset about that. You know, sooner or later you're going to run into trouble about your name. And poor. So anyway, yeah. Sorry to Tanya for putting the J in there. And Frone, the name Frone. That's my son's name because he was born in the middle of the God's Day speech, and I asked True Father to name my son, who's born while in the middle of the speech. And Father kindly did. He named my son Frone, which is Frank and the word one, because God's Day is one, and his first son and one. And so that's his name, Frone, Frone. But the funny thing about Frone is that his name is the most normal in his high school. Yeah. I always used to ask him to list me the front line of his football team, and it's Karanjit and this and that, you know, and like Frone is the only guy that sounds like a normal name back where I live, where I'm from. And also Frone is lucky because Father was looking around, trying to find me. He agreed to name my boy, and then he was trying to find me and to find out what my wife's name is. My wife's name is Hiroko. And so Frone is lucky Father didn't find me, because try it yourself, there's no name that is not damn weird. Froko, Firo, you know. So he ended up lucky with the name Frone. That's that. And I'm sorry I'm here by myself. This is a little unusual, but where do I point this? Where do I... Thanks a lot. Oh, planetary scientist.
Turn it on. Okay.
Yeah, it was on.
Yeah.
I point it where? Where do I point it?
This one is a laser.
Oh, no, but where do I point? Where do I aim it?
It should be okay.
Anywhere I aim it? All right. So that's my wife, Hiroko, in case anybody knows her. And this isn't a show and tell about my family, but I shouldn't be here by myself, so I apologize for that. And I'm always indebted to my wife, and there she is. She's in a plane somewhere with my daughter headed somewhere. But so sorry we couldn't be here as a couple, but that's us. Okay. I'm really happy and excited to be here. This is an incredible space, incredible community. It's been made remarkably beautiful. The flower arrangements, the paintings on the walls, and I've been here since Friday and was in the building yesterday and just saw people scurrying about, working really hard all day long, especially Chloe over there. She was working, and the amount of integration and cooperation and enthusiasm and investment just poured into this place really makes a holy day beautiful, and I'm grateful for that. Is there water around? Okay, no worries, but I do need it though, but somebody will get it. Oh, good, all right. The drummer from the Kingsmen. You know who's the Kingsmen? Oh, beautiful. All right, that's perfect. Thank you. All right. The Kingsmen. You know who's the King? You know who the Kingsmen?
They performed Louie Louie.
Louie Louie, which got converted to Pharaoh. And who's the lead guitarist on the stage during Pharaoh? Where is he's not in the room? That's a pity, because he is straight off the 45 record. It's like the lead is that it's kind of too much of a dead ringer for that old 1953 song and that was, parents went crazy if they heard their children playing that. We're like, the world is going to hell. Now, it's like my children had that 45 album, but somebody heavenized it to let my people go. So that was pretty entertaining for me. And then the songs performed by the band, those young people, they have very, very professional sound. You always dream that people in music, especially our own young people, could break through or somebody hear them. Because it was, there's bands that out there making money that aren't as good as that. Don't you think so? Yeah, there's beautiful music. And I always feel that that services are upside down, because music is you can listen to it forever, and then it ends and like one guy comes up and talks. It seems backwards. Like, why do you want to hear one guy talk after the joys of listening to music? So anyway, somehow I gotta figure that out. But I understand that there's a lot of people that might be called guests, or people who are not unification in their whole day-to-day life, maybe close friends of the unification family. Can I see who are guests here, or who are folks that may be visiting us for the first time ever? Or, all right, a couple of people, good. And so I put this together mostly for the sake of bringing up the unification family. So it's going to have a lot of unification assumptions in it and things like that. And I'll try to guess where it'll be alien and do a little bit of explanatory stuff to bring us along, so that we're all in here together. Okay, let's try this. All right, it's working. All right, so Jim was funny when he said, "Welcome to Big Day," or something like that, because somehow or another we have hit a confluence of holy days or holidays, all of which are highly significant, and they're all crowded in on each other. This is fairly new, that they're all hitting right around what's called God's Day, or the beginning of the year. And it's even newer that the beginning of the year starts on February 22nd or whenever, So in recent years, in 2010, Father Moon urged, or kind of introduced to the unification community, emphasis on what he called the heavenly calendar, or the lunar calendar. And so suddenly our orientation as a community, we're living in the kind of grand normal world of solar calendar life. School starts in September, the year starts in January, and so on and so forth. And suddenly, boom, this thing called the heavenly calendar landed on us, and here we are celebrating New Year's Day on February 22nd. So this is a challenge for our community, because the interesting thing about unification is it's not sectarian in any way. It's not separatist in any way. It's a movement that never separated from the society or the community at all. And then we find ourselves with a couple of things that really grind against our normal flow of life. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit as a community. And how do we deal with that? How do we integrate that? How do we become that? How do we keep our lives in our kind of excellent version of normalcy, and yet still acknowledge and honor things that are introduced to us as important? For example, the lunar calendar. So for those of us who are older in the community, and even the young people in their early 20s, even though they're young, they're old in the community. They grew up with this stuff. So they've had 20 years of life, no different than I've had 20 years of life, and my kids had 20 years of life. One's 20, one's 60, but anyway, that's how it is. And so in the early part of unification life, we had these 4 holy days: God's Day, Parents' Day, Children's Day, Day of All Things. And this was a kind of a beautiful construct in which our liturgical calendar was the voice of our own understanding of the way the universe itself is built. These are the 4 basic things that exist in the world: God, parents, children, and all things, or nature, the created universe, the skies and seas, the flowers and the birds and the bees. It's just everything that's all around us that makes up the beauty in its natural form and the beauty in its as we tend to it and mold it. So these are the 4 things, and if you think closely about it, you can say nothing else exists. That about covers it. God the infinite, and then the created universe, which has nothing else in it but parents, children, and the creation. That's it. And so our year unfolded honoring and making divine and holding up and structuring our kind of reverential sense of the sacred, and marking the things that we owe our life to, the things that we want to become, the things that we want to cherish. This was the long majority for 40 years of our life of the Holy Day structure. Then suddenly this changes, and so here, like that little explanation from Father Moon. Oh, and here's another interesting thing in this quote from Father Moon. He says that these are not for unification. These holy days are not for unification church members. It would be glorious if every single person on earth celebrated these days. It was always the mentality of Father Moon and the mentality of his followers, his members, and his students that we want to dissolve the separation. We never really wanted to be a separate community in particular. We wanted to live in such a way, think in such a way, offer in such a way that it could make sense to anybody to just become a part of. Hey, say you're Jewish. Would you mind? Would it be okay if there was a day celebrating all of nature? Sure. In fact, we have one, would say the Jew. Yes, we have one. I was out in a garden with a rabbi in Israel praying for the trees one spring. I forget the name of the day, but they already have a Day of All Things. If you're a Catholic, I don't think there is a special day to celebrate all of creation, but would it be contrary to the Catholic life and experience? No, I don't see how at all. So all of unification, even in its most particular qualities, was always in Reverend Moon's mind and in the heart and life and ways of us members, that we're not trying to build a separate and distinct and unique religious thing. We're trying to introduce sacredness into normalcy, or something like that, I think. So there's Father Moon speaking in 1975, and you know, this is how he looked. This is him talking to us. Spent hours and hours and hours just talking about, I guess, what you call like the secrets of life, secrets of the universe. And it was pleasant to be around him, and this is what the community's built on, the efforts of this man trying to make life interesting, trying to make goodness interesting, something like that, trying to make sacrifice interesting or fun enough to do, or something like that. You know, this is what, and any wonder he'd talk a long time. That's a hard sell, you know. So anyway, that's what was going on with us during this time. And so in the early days of the unification operation, long before he ever came to the U.S., he established these days: Parents' Day, Children's Day, Day of the Creation or All Things, and God's Day. So by 1968, long before the Moons ever came to the U.S., they already had the basic framework of the liturgical and worship life celebration and holy days, as we lived them for years and years. And these holy days were exciting for us, we would travel far to go be with the Moons if we were near them. The preparations for them were days or weeks. And our lives kind of didn't revolve around them. We were busy all the time, but on those days they were very elaborate holy days. And that's what made me so happy to come here, because you saw that video in Korea, you know, however, you know, many billions of shekels they put together to, you know, it's nice to see, but it's far away. Do you know what I'm saying? And so what happened is that kind of all the oxygen got sucked into one room, namely there, and the glory of it and the beauty of it and the texture of it and the feel of it that we grew up, that unification people grew up with, is all like now we're kind of distant observers of it. Oh, and trying to gin up some kind of excitement by watching this thing far, far away. But the celebration of a holy day is not something you watch far, far away. Imagine if on Christmas morning, when all your children came running down in their little one-piece onesies, you know, with feet on them, and they're sliding across the floor, and they make sure they want to wake up before you wake up because they want to see like how big the boxes are. So and they finally get down, and like under the Christmas tree, there's a little video screen, you know, of like people opening presents far, far away. You know, and then later on in the day, we also show our children a video of turkey and cranberry sauce and stuff. You know, so the fact that this community, this church, is like not waving the white flag, like made up of video machines. You know, like saying. You are making your holy day. Sisters, I saw the sisters make sure you try to see every flower arrangement in this building right now. This is all what's called Jungsung, but that's not our invention. Jungsung means doing things with heavenly investment of your heart. That's what that means. But that's not new to unification. The tradition of iconography. Do you know the tradition of iconography? Do you know what an icon is? It's especially common in the Orthodox tradition, in the Greek Orthodox tradition. You'll see these like gilded paintings of the various saints or apostles or Jesus, and these big halos around them. They're made of actual gold, and do you know what I mean by icons, right? The icons, the things which make them precious is that the monks prayed before every paint stroke. They prayed while making the paint. The paints were made out of eggshells. That's why they're so perfectly preserved. They used actual gold. The icons are meant to be the window through which God can make God's self present. So when the worshiper, the Greek Orthodox or any Orthodox, Russian or Syrian Orthodox, when the worshiper stood before the icon or entered into the church, the creator of that is offering prayers of repentance and desire and trying to, they had all kind of mystical things they did, trying to become one with Christ in the creation of the painting because the parishioners couldn't read, and this was how they would know Christ. And so things like Cheonsung, this is not new, this is not a unification thing, but this is what happened here. This is what happened here. This was done prayerfully. It isn't only the skill of somebody that's masterful at flower arrangement, but it's done prayerfully. It's done for a holy day. It's a special thing to behold. And when a building like this fills up with that, then you are celebrating a holy day. The same like with the songs that were sung. They were practiced again and again. I heard them being sung yesterday. I heard them being sung long before service started this morning. This is what's known as an offering. A lot of our family, Unification family, they say, well, I don't really know what much I could do in the church, that there's not much in it for me. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Almost anything you do contributes to the spiritual scale. If you're doing it with offering, if you're doing it with reverence, if you're increasing the ledger, like just putting another little weight on the scale of prayerfulness, of attentiveness, of kindness, of your meditations and things like that. It's a real battle. It's a genuine battle. Believe me, it's a genuine battle to see who's winning our society and life. So please don't underestimate your own every little thing. We need you. Not unification. The world needs you because there's somebody out there doing something bad and adding to the bad guys' cash or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Wallet, Apple Wallet or whatever. Okay. So we had these holy days. Although they were founded on lunar calendar days, we came to celebrate them on solar calendar days. The only holy day that was founded in the solar calendar was God's Day. That really was January 1st. But the holy days, even though they were founded on lunar calendar, we still always knew that they were announced to us, and we lived in the solar calendar. So our ability to know that there are special days that we want to pray for, we want to clean up for, as one of the people in the prayer talked about, cleaning up and starting again. The holy days function like that. We were in the flow, we were in the swing. It matched the calendar on the wall. Do you understand? But then the holy day, our calendar shifted to the heavenly calendar. It shifted in 2010. This caused a the terrain beneath our feet to undulate a bit, to make the Lord knows. Trying to live religiously needs every advantage you can get, especially this day and age. Do you know what I mean? The society is not especially supportive of religious life and spiritual life, and you don't need unnecessary troubles. It's already hard enough as it is. Do you get what I'm saying? And so to suddenly have put over, there's two things that happened to our community, and that's why I wanted, in the context of a holy day, to discuss this openly with us and think about it together, because in a certain way we need to make up our mind once and for all, one way or the other. We need to either accept it or reject it or do something with it, but not just live in struggle. Struggle is a fair thing. I'm all for it, but I'm all for kind of putting an end to it at some point or another also. So what's called the heavenly calendar shows up in 2010, and suddenly our entire temporal infrastructure gets shaken and difficult and hard to weave into the busyness of our life, even though even like, you know, holidays are for kids in a certain way, right? And so it's an important part of the formation of young people's lives. Is that, oh, it's a holiday, when we grew up with Christmas or Hanukkah or Eid al-Fitr, when the fast ended and there was the biggest feast you ever saw in your house, you couldn't believe it. These kinds of things are the roots of what emerge or evolve into a mature spirituality. Our positive taste toward spiritual activity comes from the taste of turkey and the taste of stuffing and see how fast, like, who wants a drumstick? Like your hand goes up before all your brothers, you're like been practicing for a few days, it's like, and then you meet, you're 45, you're in an office full of secular people, and every day you read your daily scripture before the day in the office starts, and one of your workers says, why do you like the Bible so much? Why do you do that? Why do you study? It could be because of the taste of turkey, or how fast you can. They're tied in. Do you see what I'm saying? And when you have an interruption with holy days or holidays or something, and you're trying to participate in a joyful and constructive way in the formation of your children in your own tradition, this is caused a challenge for unification family and community. Two things caused a challenge for the unification community. Something called Anshi'il, in which the structure of the week was altered, and then the shift to the heavenly calendar, in which primarily God's Day was lost. The other holy days were not as rough on us. So for the guests, or for people who are not always in unification all the time in their life, I forget the year. Do you remember anybody on Anshi'il? It was also around the same time, 2008 or 9. Father Moon made every 8th day.
2005.
What's that?
2005.
2005. Thanks, Peter. Paul. Peter. Can we get a Mary? Monday. Okay. Peter Perry. Thank you. Why do I think Paul? Is there a Paul in your family, or I know your son? What is that?
There's a Paul Perry
in the church. Okay. All right. So In 2005, Father Moon introduces Anchi-il, which means every 8th day is the Sunday of the week. Every 8th day is the most sacred day of the week. And one of the accounts was, this is kind of egalitarian, but trouble anyway, that every day of the week deserves to have that honor. So if you celebrate, if you make your Sabbath every 8th day, then every day of the week gets to have the honor of being the Sabbath. So Mondays are not left out. And Thursdays are not left out. Sooner or later, Thursday will say, "It's me, it's me." That was one thing I heard. And then, of course, unification, people know that the number 8 is the number marking the new beginning, right? And so the Sabbath was the first day of the week in Christian tradition. Because of the way the culture and society went, people often think it's the last day of the week. But actually, the Sabbath is the first day of the week because of the tradition of tithing and offering. So you always give the first and you always give the best to God. So the Sabbath is the time of offering to God, and it's the time in which you prepare for the blessedness of the week to come. Your week ends for, like, the real experts at Sabbath life are the Jews, better than everybody, and the week ends at sundown. And from there you prepare, you do nothing else. No electricity, nothing else. You enter into the period that is God's day of the week and the day of sacred things. So anyway, there's something enchanting or novel or fun in a certain way, I guess, about doing that. But for unification families, trying to raise our families, the one and only one thing we could sooner or later impose upon our poor children would be to drag them out of bed early in the morning on Sunday, and somehow they knew that this was the only really, they knew that this was going to happen, and they somehow went along with this one thing, right? And it became, and then you try to make it fun, right? You try to have nice food, you have ice cream, and we tried to make it fun. It was an early morning worshipful time for our youngsters. For our friends that are new to or just hearing about unification, the youngsters made their little page. You know you're born a Mooney. You know you're born in unification if. I don't know if anybody ever heard that. And one of them is, if your parents drag you out in the before sunrise to bow to some strange guy in your living room, or something like that. all kind of funny things. But that was the day that we were all family in some sort of dogged and determined spiritual and religious way, and our families held together on that weekly tradition. And then when it changed to Anchi-il, it really disturbed, really troubled, and really made difficult for us. And I think we still haven't fixed it or recovered. We still haven't got that down yet. And then the other thing was a very similar phenomenon. God's Day. Once a year, the whole family really did this religious thing. We'd spend all evening with a family doing stuff, and then we'd have a part of the evening around 11 o'clock at night or something like that, in which we'd all go away separately and write down everything in the year that passed that we want to repent for it. and be sorry for and make a way and not follow us into the new year. Did anybody ever do anything like this? We wrote it down, we wrote it on a piece of paper, and we folded it up as tight as we possibly could so that nobody could possibly get it open. And then we burned it up. We burned up our sins, and then we'd begin, and then we'd wait. And then at the stroke of midnight, we'd pray. Did anybody do this in their family? Okay. So it's kind of exciting, it's fun, there's fire involved, and there's a countdown, and you don't have to count down because if you live in the city like me, you can hear like the whole city, 5, 4, and it's like your neighbor across the street, you open the window, will you turn that down? We're all on top of each other, so the count was done for us, but maybe you in the country had to figure out some other way, like buy a watch or something. But boom, at midnight, boom, we pray like that. And the kids got a kick out of it. We got a kick out of it when we used to do it with Father and Mother Moon. And now it's like, okay, it's going to be February 22nd. Yay! It's like, it's not the same thing. And we were so proud of ourselves if we're driving to church, because we're driving through sinners and revelers, it's like, I'm driving to God, we're up to God himself, God herself, God. Whoop, watch that guy, whoa, it's like, why doesn't he have any clothes on except a brightly colored hat? It's like, we're so proud of ourselves, we're the spiritual ones, And so God's Day was really, really good for us religiously or something like that. Now it's February 22nd. Everybody's sober on February 21st anyway, and we don't stand out that much, and so we lost something there. So what I want to, let me see what I got up. What I want to do with us as we shift into an entirely different reality as a community in which we want to keep the fun and the beauty and the delight, and I was being playful in my talk, but it's also deadly serious. That we would pray at the stroke of midnight was absolute in our lives. We want not even a nanosecond of life in 2018 that did not have God in it. This is what we were up to. We want all of 2018 to be worthy of God, to have God's participation, to have God's blessing. The year is God's ahead. We don't know what it will hold. We don't know what fortune we'll experience. We don't know what misfortune we'll experience. We don't know. And we want all of it to be with God. The good and the bad. We want to be right. We want to be better than we were last year. So I was playing around a little bit just now, but it's deeply serious. It's deeply serious, but it's exciting and fun. So how do we address, or how do we fix these matters? This is what I wanted to talk about a little bit, and then I'll wrap up. I don't know, have I been talking a long time? Yes? Have I? Yes. Oh, Kimmy, where's Kimmy? Is she around? She's my timekeeper. Anyway, all spiritual people, all religious people have natural cycles in our lives by which we try to build constancy in our spirituality. The basic unit of a person's spiritual life is a day. If you're smart, in my opinion, when you arise, before you distract yourself with the cacophony and busyness of life, pause and orient yourself spiritually. Say a prayer, make some kind of set of rituals, Do a bow if you bow, say a prayer, greet God, read a scripture. Do something that every single day is put in the hands of something that likes me even more than I like me, that likes my family even more than I like my family, that is the God of all, that is powerful enough to create the oceans and the trees and the stars. Start there. As I want to be short from here forward, I'm not going to go into the little details, but the phone, a lot of people wake up and grab their phone. You'll have plenty of time for the rest of the day to be lost in your phone. Set, okay? And then at the end of the day, take stock. It's a little bit hard, you're tired, you've spun out, you've lost your focus really by the end of the day. You've watched some stupid television or somebody yelled at you during the day. By the end of the day is really is like almost like your worst state in a way. The whole day has just been tearing away at your original plans of being good and sacrificial and kind and loving and spiritual. And by the end of the day, God knows what's happened to us. But it's not good to just flop into bed in that state. So even in our messy state, take a moment or two to look back on the day, say I'm sorry for anything that I did that I didn't want to do, for that second gallon of ice cream, one was enough, or whatever got you again, sorry for that. And I said, look at the day, and also offer the good stuff. Thanks for that great professor. Thanks for that I did well on the test. Don't be greedy. Like lots of good things happen to you. Be thankful. Things are on your side. Heaven's on your side. God's on your side. Your family's on your side. There's, so pause. Fix the bad. Thanks for the good, and then you'll sleep better, and then you'll start to get some traction and momentum and energy in your life. Not energy like, this isn't like Tony Robbins, but I mean spiritual energy. It gets easier the more you do it, and it's good for you. So use a day, and then the next unit that all people live through are weeks. They're a legitimate thing. A week is a thing determined astronomically. They happen. Weeks happen. Since we have this odd thing, this new 8th day Sabbath, at least get in the habit of spotting it, at least seeing it, at least identifying it, at least knowing it. Do you see what I'm saying? At least get some kind of calendar somewhere in your life that you can at least see what that is and take note. Because if there's something in it, sooner or later it might start speaking to you that day. If there's some real deep reason why that happened, just even pausing to just say hi or oh yeah, this is that day for some reason this week. Oh, this is that day. Do you see what I'm saying? Just the smallest little thing. And then at least, we're starting to have a chance of discovering why, or what's interesting about it, or why it might be an incredible thing. But if we have no relationship, we have no chance. And finally, and then I'll conclude. The same with the lunar calendar. Get one, or heavenly calendar. Get one, and just at least find out what the name of the day is. Like this one is what? February, no, this one is I think it's the 7th day of the first month. I think. Something like that. What is it? 10th day? Okay. 10th day. Okay. 10th day of the first month. And so little by little, at least each day, at least take note what that is. I'm not talking, I mean, this is unification stuff, because this is put on us, you know, so we should have some, and then if you do this each day, then those things that are holy days, like God's Day, we'll already know it's coming up in a few days or in a couple of weeks or something like that. We'll start to get gradually acclimatized to that calendar. And then, as that happens to you, you will start to, this I guarantee you, the Anshi Il one I don't have enough experience yet, but the heavenly calendar one, you will start to discover a true beauty of that calendar. The lunar calendar has, in a certain way, a closer relationship to ourselves, to our biological and physical and family life. It's a very, very interesting thing that I discovered, because I didn't care for it. It made life difficult for me, the lunar calendar or heavenly calendar, and I was hostile to it because I loved God's Day. But at least the minimum, would it kill you to at least know the day? That's, you know. And so, thanks to Peter, I'm reminded, it's the 10th day of the first month. So, it's the 11th. Okay, thank you. All right, so if nothing else happened throughout the whole time I'm speaking, at least we know this. And it's not even thanks to me. Okay, so day by day, at least say hello to the number of the day. Do you see what I'm saying? At least get in it that much. Which one is it?
Today was 16.
Yeah.
Today the 10th of January.
It's the 10th day. Okay. All right. Leave an email as you leave. We'll write you and tell you what day. But apart from that detail, the point I'd like to conclude with is get into at least a small relationship with it, and it will get into a relationship with you. The lunar calendar especially is a very interesting friend, because it's more natural to our biological and familial cycles of life and reality. And so these types of things could be like mother and father, perhaps. Perhaps the solar calendar and lunar calendar are related like mother or father. We'll discover it in our spirituality as we try to emerge as a community and evolve through the innovations and novelty that comes to us through our elders and teachers and people who are trying to forge how we'll go forward long into the future. All right? So I do thank you for the time. I hope that I've been a little bit okay for you guys. You've certainly been more than okay for me, and I'll close in prayer, and then we'll continue the service as you. Okay. Our loving Heavenly God, we're so grateful to you that we have the fortune to be interested in you and your world, your heavenly spiritual world, your physical world of beauty and wonder, the world of our relationships with one another, the unique and infinite discovery of what it means to have a mom, a dad, a wife, a husband, the indescribable joys of seeing our own children grow and become people of influence, of power, of talent, of gifts, and become parents of their own as time goes on. People we don't even know, day by day, offering us kindness and encouragement. We pass by art, pass by music, hear and see things that are the fruits of devotion and labor. We are the beneficiaries of so much. And for so long in history, you've been so alone in many ways. Even the people who pray to you and call to you have not really wanted to include you much, just ask you for stuff. But we don't want to be like that. We really want to live with you in our lives, to rejoice with you, to become creatures of never-ending, unbound gratitude and promise and determination to self-improve. We want to be great for each other and for you. We're so grateful for this beautiful holy day. We're so grateful for Pastor Catherine and her team and the community that invested in creating a wonderful space. We're grateful for our guests that made it through all the way to us here at a Sunday morning. So much our hearts are full. Please take the richness of our love for one another and for you, and add it to our world of brothers and sisters who are doing the same, trying to make a difference and trying to tip the scales and create a good and heavenly place for people, and so that human suffering can decline and the suffering of the environment and the planet can decline, and we can really start to see your original kingdom, your original heavenly ideal become the natural nature of this world in which we live. We report these things gratefully as your children, as Blessed Central families, and in our names, Aju.